it's time for another Hitchcock review. You know, I was gonna try to space these out more. I don't have any plan, I don't have any time frame, there's no schedule, but I was gonna try to, at least let a couple of weeks go by before doing the next one. But they played The Birds on TV, and we happened to catch it right at the beginning, and so I guess that means I have to review it next. The Birds from 1963, starring Tippi Hedren and Rod Taylor, and of course directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Tippi Hedren plays Melanie Daniels, a wealthy socialite, bit of a troublemaker type, who happens to run into Mitch Brenner, played by Rod Taylor, in a bird shop one day. Even though he knows very well who she is, he pretends to think that she's just a shop assistant and tells her that he's looking for a pair of lovebirds, and she goes along with it, and they have a very flirtatious, cheeky conversation. After he leaves the shop, she devises a plan to order the lovebirds herself and bring them to him by special delivery, with the hope of more flirting to come. She tracks him down to his mother's house in Bodega Bay, a small, cozy coastal town in California. And that's where the fun starts, and birds begin to attack, in small ways at first, but then growing and growing and growing, and they just ruin everything. I have seen this movie a lot. It was my first Hitchcock movie. I think it's my mom's favorite Hitchcock movie, and so she was probably really eager to show it to all of us kids. I have said before, though, in another video, that I probably saw it a little too early because it kept me up at night and I was terrified of birds in my wallpaper. And the scene of Fred Brinkmeyer with his eyes pecked out still just ick. No, please, I will look away or leave the room. This one's quite a bit different from Hitchcock's other movies. For one thing, there's a heavier focus on horror than on mystery. It's not really a plot movie, it's more just a sequence of events. It starts with a creepy idea, what if birds started attacking people, and it just amplifies that until you are so paranoid that you see a bird and you're like, ah, no! Of course there is a story and characters and conflict, and a lot of that centers around the budding relationship between Melanie Daniels and Mitch Brenner. Their scenes together become more like little vignettes, or like checkpoints on the development of their relationship. And another indication that the plot is not really a big deal is the fact that there is no explanation provided for the events that happen, and the resolution is really just a big question mark. And I've always meant to read the original story by Daphne du Maurier that this movie is based on, but I just never get around to it. And another thing that's different about this movie is how Hitchcock uses sound, or rather silence. Hitchcock movies often, not always, but often have great soundtracks written by great composers that play an important part in the telling of the story. But The Birds has no musical score, and it's a relatively quiet film. Silence makes us tense and uncomfortable, and Hitchcock uses that to his advantage to make one of his most uncomfortable movies. The notable exception to what I just said is the schoolhouse scene. Melanie Daniels sits on a bench outside the school to wait, and slowly blackbirds or crows accumulate on the playground while the kids inside the schoolhouse sing this song. This song that goes on and on and on and has got to be one of the most annoying songs that I have ever heard. And once you hear it, it just gets stuck in your head. And I think that Hitchcock used that song on purpose because he knew it was annoying, and he knew that the sound of the children just droning on and on in this song that doesn't even make any sense would just drive you crazy, and the tension and the suspension would just be so amped up, like a rubber band being stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched, and you're like, I can't take it anymore, I can't take it anymore, until finally you're just like, ah! And then the birds attack, and you're like, oh, that really made me nervous. I was afraid this thing was gonna break. So yes, I can find this movie pretty stressful, even after all these years. There is one part that always sticks out to me as a little strange, and that is the scene where the gas pump explodes, and it shows the ladies at the window reacting. It cuts to them, and there's silence, and they're looking, and then they're looking over here, and it always just jars me and makes me feel like, why did he do that? It's not really a big deal, just a thing I always notice. And about the special effects, I will say that I used to find them a lot more impressive before we got all this HD stuff. Because when I was a little kid, I mean, maybe it was just because I was a little kid and I didn't know anything, but it was always like, how did they train the birds to go after the kids like that? And how did they get them to do this? Now the illusion is kind of taken away, and I end up feeling like, oh, I think I see how he did this. Boo! I want my movie magic back! So that's my review of The Birds. I enjoy this movie. I especially enjoy watching it with my mom because we have a grand old time together. If you've seen this movie, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of it. As always, thank you for watching. Bye! Da 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 da.